Hello and welcome once again to the Windy City's finest on location in Grande Prairie. We are here at the Grande Prairie Polytechnic. Thank you so much for having us here. He's Mac, I'm Perry, and this is
Arjun Roy.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And yeah, just to give people some context, could you give us a really broad strokes overview of what it is you do, or the many things that you do?
Of course,
Yeah.
happy to do it. So I am, I think whether it's on my website or on business cards, I broke it down to I am a producer, recordist, and a mix engineer. That's my main thing. I'm an audio engineer by trade, record producer. I work in live events, and for the past several years, of studying and working, I kind of leveled up to a curriculum development and academia.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that context, and I cannot wait to dive more into that journey in the next segment. But for the purpose of this segment, we'll just be doing some icebreaker games, getting to know Arjun a little bit.
Perfect.
And yeah, we'll go from there. The first thing we have is our trivia. How are you with trivia typically?
Depending on the trivia, either really good or really bad. So it could go any which way.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, the stakes have never been lower, so we'll just dive in. My first piece of trivia for you, Arjun, is which famous country musicians hail from Grande Prairie, Alberta? Ooh. A. Tennille Townes. B. Carolyn Dawn Johnson. C. Archie Caillou. Or D. All of the above?
Oh my gosh. Well, my answer is definitely A. Tennille. But because there's an all of the above, I'm now suddenly unsure if it's all of the above. I'll stick with Tennille.
Awesome. It is D, all of the above. Yeah.
Okay.
No, but that's all good. That's all good.
Cool.
Awesome. I'm going to throw it to you. You have a piece of top secret trivia for me that Mac has prepared, and I have no idea. I think the other day I got them all right, but I don't typically have a good streak with these. So if you want to rattle off the first one, we'll see how I do.
Okay. Mac has been to Grande Prairie only once before for an acting gig. While there, he ate at A. Cozy Pierogi, B. Mia Birria Mexican Eatery, C. Sawmill Prime Rib and Steakhouse, or D. Better Than Fred's.
It's very interesting being here now because I actually recognize some of those names.
Okay.
And part of me also wishes there was like a D, all of the above, and we just ate at all of them.
Right.
For an acting gig, I think I know who the acting gig was with. I think they might spoil you, so I'm going to go with the Sawmill. Is that right?
Alas, no. It is D, Better Than Fred's.
Better Than Fred's.
Classic.
I should have known. A classic. Have you been there often?
You know what? A lot, actually.
Yeah.
Better Than Fred's is, I don't want to say it's like Cheers, but it kind of is. Better Than Fred's is a spot that has had live music like for forever.
Right.
So I've been playing on that stage in a variety of bands, not very good, and then reasonably good since, I don't know, the early 2000s.
I don't know. Very cool. Awesome. We can put these aside for a second, and we'll dive into our next icebreaker game. The hat is coming out.
Ooh.
This is this or that. It's just like tea or coffee, and I think we both have some roots in the UK, so
Indeed.
I would say tea. How about you?
You know what? These days I'd say coffee, but it's really a tough call.
Yeah, that's super fair. I'll let you do the honors and pick the first one, and if you could read it out, that would be great.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet or salty? That's hilarious. Interesting. I think generally I would probably go salty. It's my palate, I guess. It's my preference.
I feel similarly as well.
Yeah.
I always feel like I reach for the sort of salty or savory treats. I do have a bit of a sweet tooth, but salty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that. We are not enemies on that front then. That's great.
No, we're making finding common ground.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, let's see what we get next. Let's go with this one. We've got new or familiar?
Oh, this is a great question. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna say new. I don't think it's always been new, but I think as of several years ago, I really tried to, again, focus on whether it's new experiences, new things. I guess new experiences is the main thing. New. Let's go with that.
Right on. Yeah. Was there like a specific thing that kind of spurred that? Like, was it something to do with family, or
man.
just like a
Yeah.
show that you did, or a project you worked on?
You know what? I'm going to get very real.
Yeah.
Several years ago, I suddenly got divorced. And so coming out of that, and so, I'd been with my ex-wife for many years. We'd been together, we'd been married for several years, together for many years prior. And so it was one of those sort of watershed moments in life where, things change in a variety of ways. And so I was, 30, in my 30s, right? Like 35 or something like that.
Sure.
And so after that, I just wanted it. Like a lot of people have, I don't know, I don't want to say like midlife crises or something like that.
Yeah.
People deal with these things in many different ways, but I just thought, cool, how can I get myself back out there in terms of life stuff in general? And so I started a podcast years ago, as
nice.
people do, and a bunch of other things like that. So that kind of led to this new, let's take on new challenges, do new things.
Yeah. I
Indeed.
love that. And I appreciate your realness,
Sure.
and also acknowledging, like, at one point in time, maybe it was familiar.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's super relatable too.
Yeah.
And I think, I am maybe, I don't know if it's the midlife crisis. I know I'm 29, so, isn't there something about Saturn returning at that point in people's lives? I don't know. But yeah, I think I'd be in a similar boat of just new. I mean, I don't know, there's an interesting point I think we hit where it's just like, you do stuff.
Exactly.
Get out and do stuff, I think we'll move steadily along to our last icebreaker game. Tumbling Towers, quick review. Cannot take from the top 3.
Right.
You got to try to put it back on top once you pick something. I'll get my questions here, but I'll let you do the honors and try and get the first piece.
All right.
And you can poke around and see what's going to work best for you.
Got it. It's been a while since I have, funnily enough, I was talking about loving Jenga and such, but it's been a while. I have a good feeling about this.
Oh, you seem like a pro. You seem like you know what you're doing.
Oh, no. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There you
I
go.
felt it moving and thought, I've made the wrong move. Is that 17? No.
12.
21?
21.
21.
Good job. 21. If you could time travel, when would you go?
Oh my gosh. The couple of things that come to mind immediately. One is, I mean, like the nerd child in me says, like, I would love to go see dinosaurs and the prehistoric world all over the place. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe there's like a deeper answer to that, but I'll stick with that.
Yeah, I love it. I'm very curious. Like, because like surviving in that time, how long would you go for? I'm just curious.
That's a good, and that again, good question. Like, now if we continue the thought experiment after the initial, like, hey, this is the answer. Not for too long. I mean, I guess technically, like, the atmosphere was different, right? So we wouldn't be able to survive for that long.
Right.
Also, what is the book? It's a Ray Bradbury book, right? The Sound of Thunder. But it's the time travel book where they have time travel, and so rich folks go big game hunting for dinosaurs, and then this particular story focuses on like one trip when things go awry, and so a group goes to go hunting, and they're supposed to just stay on a certain path so that they don't disturb wildlife, flora, fauna, that kind of thing. Somebody goes off the path, they step on a butterfly. And then when they come back to the present, everything is different, right? Because of this thing. So I would want to, within the confines of...
Stick to the path.
Exactly. Stick to the path.
And
if there is a path, or if there isn't a path, figure out like how to not do any damage. So when I come back here, things are unchanged. Yeah.
Right on.
Just a short little peek, I think.
Thank you for continuing that thought experiment with me. I really appreciate that.
How about you?
If I could time travel, when would I go? Oh goodness gracious me. I don't know. I heard recently, like, I think it was a comedian or something, they were talking about this, and they would just go back to like, time with Jesus. Just be like, wouldn't you like to know that, like, actually, and I was like, that's an interesting thought. It might drive you mad when you come back in some way, shape, or form, but yeah, so that's going to be my answer.
Cool answer.
Right on. I think that is all the time we have for our icebreaker games.
Sounds good.
I have thoroughly appreciated and enjoyed this. Yeah, this has been the Windy City's finest, on location in Grande Prairie at the Grande Prairie Polytechnic. He's Mac, I'm Perry, and this is
Arjun Roy.
And we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Windy City's finest, on location here in Grande Prairie at Northwestern Polytechnic. I'm Mac, he's Perry, and this is
Arjun Roy.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed your segment with Perry, getting to know you a little bit. about your likes and dislikes and things like that. So it was really fun. But of course, we are here for the art, to talk about your art and your
Happy to
journey.
do it.
And I'm always excited to learn about artists' journeys because they're always different and varied and interesting. So yeah, I know you kind of gave a little description at the top of the first segment, but yeah, tell me what your art is.
Okay, so the answer is not a short answer, but I'll condense it. So these days I find myself focusing more on production, working with up-and-coming bands. Also, I guess what I'm doing here at Northwestern Polytechnic, I've been recommissioning this facility that we're in, the recording studio complex, and through that, doing a bunch of recording work, also a bunch of performing work. I'm fortunate that a lot of the bands that I've been producing and mixing and such play a lot. They're fantastic, and they get a bunch of summer gigs, and so it's been fun to get back on stage again. I used to perform a lot, and so now it's great doing a little bit of that again.
Great, yeah. I mean, there's lots to go over for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we can kind of start. You mentioned that you'd done a lot of performing because your background is primarily in music to start with, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, so let's tell me about that. When did you first start being interested in music?
Sure. I feel like when I remember sort of cliched answer that people give is like ever since I was young. But it's totally the case. I don't remember when I was first sort of fully into music or when it grabbed me as it did, but definitely being a kid in India, listening to music, perhaps like Bollywood movies and stuff. But then also my parents had a lot of cassette tapes of sort of Western bands, and it was like everything from like, let's say, Eric Clapton, Joni Mitchell, to like the Sound of Music soundtrack and stuff like that. So I loved music. At some point, I thought I would love to play music, but I didn't know what that entailed or how that would happen. Fast forward to being 12 or so in England. So I was born in India, grew up in India, we moved to England, and then eventually ended up in Canada when I was 14. So around the age of 12 or so, they offered music lessons at school. And so my parents made me a deal that, hey, look, like study an instrument and maybe we will buy you an instrument, so on and so forth. And so I studied classical guitar from the age of 12. But I always wanted to play rock music, as people do sometimes. But I was in luck because my guitar teacher, day one classical guitar lessons in London, England. I don't know how old I was, but I'm sitting with 2 or 3 other pals, and so these other kids from my grade were all learning classical guitar, and I thought, perfect. I remember the deal I made with my parents. I will study, I will do my best, and maybe I can eventually own an electric guitar. We'll see. All that worked out great because the teacher walked in the door, and so again, just setting the scene. I'm wearing a school uniform, sitting in England, grade 7, I'm sure, something like that. And the teacher walks in, leather pants, cowboy boots, leather jacket, puffy shirt, like Nikki Sixx hair. Like, dude looks like Yngwie Malmsteen. And he's like, hello, I'm Paul. I'll be your guitar teacher. I thought, okay, I think this guy can teach me rock music. I think I can do this. And sure enough, yes, he made me the same deal. Listen, work on the classical stuff, get really good at this. If you complete all the things we need to do, ahead of time, I'll show you some rock stuff. And that was it. So I did crush the classical guitar stuff, and then quickly got into learning rock music on a classical guitar when I was 12 or so.
Yeah, what came next in your musical journey?
Yeah, we moved to Canada when I was 14. And so when I lived in England, again, played classical guitar, learned some rock and blues licks, had a bunch of friends who didn't necessarily make music, but they were into music. I was into all sorts of stuff. I mean, being that age in middle school, you kind of, you play some sports, you do all sorts of things. We moved to Canada, hyper specifically to Hay River Northwest Territories. So London, England, Hay River. I love Hay River. I love all my Hay River pals, and so on. But it's a big culture shock. We moved in the middle of winter, January 7th. I just turned 14. We fly in, and it's I don't know what the temperature was. It was like, take your pick, like minus 50, something like that. We show up in a small town. It's like 2,000 people or something as a population, and so there, with love and respect, there's not a lot to do. Small town up north. A lot of my friends, I was skipped a bunch of grades, and so I was kind of in class with people a couple of years older than me, and so everyone was sort of into partying and stuff, and as one does. But I was like a big nerd, and I was younger, so I didn't quite mesh in that way. So I found myself playing. I want to say I still say football, but I mean soccer, and rugby in the summertime, which is very short, and then the rest of the winter I just played a lot of guitar. I found a great guitar teacher. I found myself getting really good at guitar, and then being in bands with guys and gals who were much older than me. So I was always like, the youngest, or like, I always wanted to surround myself with, people who were way better than me at something, learn from them, and then hopefully, get better and better. So that was sort of, high school for me, just playing a lot of music, classical guitar as well as rock, eventually metal, and then, playing in sort of early bands. We played, I don't know, Blink-182 covers, like things like that.
Yeah. One thing I read in your bio was that your initial post-secondary was not for music.
Correct.
Yeah, tell me a little about that.
Of course. So thinking about what to do after school came very quickly, because again, I was 16 when I graduated, and so thinking about graduating was like when I was 14 and a half to 15, So everyone else had thought about this, whether they'll go into the trades or some other things. There's a kid in my grade who was really good at golf, and so he wanted to go into like golf course management. I didn't know that was like a course of study that you could take, but sure enough, he did. You could. My parents, and again, all of this with hindsight and love, classic sort of family of immigrants who moved from one place to another, and so they would love for me to lock into a rewarding career, but also something that has stability, guaranteed income, so on and so forth. And so a lot of folks in my family are in the sciences. There are a lot of teachers in my family, a lot of different kinds of careers. And so my parents are dentists, my auntie's a doctor, and so given my I don't want to say like talent or whatever, but my interest in the sciences, they suggested, hello, what about like med school, and being 15 at the time, applying to go to university, I thought, I don't know, like, sure, I guess, maybe. So I got into the U of A, I got into like master's biochemistry or something like that. And that's what I did. I graduated high school in 1999, went to Edmonton, and had a short tenure at the U of A. I think the time that I spent at the U of A helped me figure out that I didn't necessarily want to do that, which is definitely not what my parents wanted to hear. Again, with love, they're super supportive. It was a tough set of conversations at the time, but it just wasn't for me. And I couldn't tell you why I was so sure that A, it wasn't for me, and B, I wanted to somehow make a career in the arts, but I just had a pretty strong feeling about that. So I wish I'd been a better student at the U of A, and it was a time that kind of, by being there and realizing maybe this is not for me, and then trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, it set up what I do now, for the rest of my life. So, so I didn't become a doctor, but I do this now.
There we go. Yeah, and I'm curious, like, because your focus is more on like the sound engineering now. That really interests me, because I mean, just having just met you, I feel like there's maybe that connection between your interest in science and computer science, and it's like, how do you make the thing? How do you? That's really interesting. I guess within that part of your craft, you started out, playing those open mics, you're touring, things like that. Like, was there a significant shift where you went more into sound engineering more seriously? Yeah,
certainly. I'd gotten into recording demos probably from 2004 onwards. I had a couple of channels of some early M audio kind of unit to record, so I could record, a couple of channels at a time. And so when I was songwriting with those bands, we would want to record. So we did everything from using like a long time ago, we had, giant computer screens. You had like a computer mic of some sort, right? Like maybe you could get a Logitech mic that was better than the stock mic. So we would record with that, like you're singing, so hold this to your mouth, and then now we're going to record guitar, so we'll take this mic off the computer and hold it to our guitar amp, that kind of thing. And then wanting to make better sounding demos, and just then again, just finding that I really wanted to nerd out about how to do this better.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't I make this sound like the records I loved listening to? I didn't have a lot of money for a lot of gear at the time, but I had, a couple of basic mics, a few guitar amps, a few guitars, and a lot of pals, and some great sort of songwriting and recording situations where I could just practice, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so from 2004 or 5 until 2008 or 9, I went from making these demos to, again, playing a lot of shows, and then bands would reach out to me saying, hey, we heard your demo, could you record us or something?
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that a bunch here in town, concurrent to being on tour. So when I got to, by that time, I feel like I spent my 20s touring and recording and so on. And so I was probably 27 at the time, but this is, I don't know, 2008 or 9. But after some years of performing a lot, these relationships, no matter how great they are, they kind of like hit a point where they implode or they run their course and everybody wants to do something different. Sometimes even as you achieve sort of success in the thing that you want to do, people realize, or people around you or people part of the project realize, I like this thing, but not to this extent, So we'll jam and then play shows. And some folks might think, you know what, I don't like performing, so I won't perform. Okay, so then you find the next group of people to move up with. You go on tour, and then a bunch of people realize, you know what, I don't really like being on tour. I love music, but I don't know about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that led to, being 27 or so, at the time, having spent several years playing a lot, thinking, okay, cool, where can this go now?
Mm-hmm.
I've played a bunch, I've toured a bunch, I've done that thing a lot. And so I thought about doubling down on my love of recording. I was fortunate enough to apply to and then get into Berklee College of Music in Boston. And so when I was 27, I feel like my ex-wife, my girlfriend at the time, then my wife at the time, we were thinking about what to do in our 30s, and then when least expected, she was expecting. And so we're like, okay, cool. Career-wise, what is the next shift? How can I now work and provide for a family and so on? And so I thought, you know what, this is probably the best time to go to Berklee. I've done a lot, and perhaps I could do more in terms of playing and touring and recording here. But here's an opportunity that it's not going to be around forever. So when in 2010, we moved to Boston to go to Berklee College of Music, and by then again, I'd really sort of nerded out lots and gotten a lot into recording, mixing, engineering, all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, super fortunate to be able to go to Boston to attend Berklee. I majored in music production and engineering, and I was able to just hone my craft and work really hard at the audio engineering side of things there.
Mm-hmm.
One of my professors was executive director, was head of one of the programs at Berklee's newest campus in Valencia, Spain. And so they were doing an open house, and they very pointedly said, hey, we love what you're doing here. Maybe you want to get your master's now, like next year. Mm-hmm. And so after chatting with my wife, we thought, again, you know what, if we're going to do something like this, I guess now is the time. So in 2015, we moved to Valencia, Spain. I completed my master's at Berklee's then newish campus. It's a master's degree granted campus. I ended up working there as well, and then we stayed an extra year. I was the fellow for the department, and so I worked with the department and got into academia, which again, at the end of that, thinking, where do we go? What do we do? We kind of wanted to be back. Kids were young. We felt like raising kids in Canada, being back home to do that was the move. So we did. So we ended up in Grande Prairie in 2017, end of the year 2017. Again, as I mentioned in the previous segment, then I got divorced. And at the same time, based on all the work I'd done in Valencia, Spain, Berklee reached out to me because they were prepping their next campus in New York City. And so, again, based on the work that you've done there, would you like to come help us develop curriculum and bring this campus online? And so 2017 to, I guess like a year and a half ago, that was probably 80% of my gig was, again, shifting to academia. At the time, I was having a lot of fun recording and engineering, and that was great. But then again, there was this pull. I didn't realize, or I didn't think years ago that academia would be something that I would want to end up in necessarily. It just wasn't, it just wasn't on my mind. But again, they because they reached out, I thought that's a really cool opportunity. If I'm going to do it, now's the time to do it. So that's what led, to academia being a big part of what I do.
That's wonderful. Yeah, what a journey, a winding journey for sure. Yeah. And I guess so I guess of course we can't cover all of it, but maybe that's maybe a good segue into, you said you're recommissioning this space.
Indeed.
Yeah, tell me a little about that.
Absolutely. Recommissioning this place has been wonderfully rewarding. It feels like a very strange full circle kind of moment. I walked these halls, dropped out, but started everything it is that I am doing now here, 25 years ago. And now I have the opportunity to, in some small way, help, bring some of these things back. And so the facility is amazing. Everyone at Northwestern Polytechnic, Andrea Piper, who runs the department that oversees the studio, as well as Dr. Vanessa Shane, are, very committed to bringing the arts back as much as they can, as comprehensively as they can. And so this is one step in that direction. So I've been, myself, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of folks, Chris Guthrie, Bevan Booth, some of the other folks in town, who've been in the arts, who, have been musicians, who may have other jobs, but they've, again, been a big part of the music scene here in town, again, have helped, check, remove dust from, I forget what the term is. It's the term when you wiggle, wiggle cables in and out of a patch bay. There's like an actual academic term, but I'm blanking on it. So wiggling cables in and out of patch bays. And so that's the work that we're doing now. Everything works. It's fantastic. We're just have some kinks to iron out. But the facility is a wonderful bonus, a wonderful thing to have here in this part of Canada, in this part of Alberta. It's capable of a lot. The rooms are fantastic. I'm biased, obviously, but it's a great place to do artistic work.
Absolutely, yeah. And I feel very fortunate to be able to be here to talk with you. And
Thank you.
It's a beautiful
Absolutely.
space. It sounds great. Yeah, it's lovely. I can just imagine the magic that happens here. Yeah. Well, I think that's all the time we have for this segment, Arjun. It's been really great to hear a bit about your journey as an artist. And
appreciate that.
Yeah, really enjoyed the conversation. So this is the Windy City's Finest on location here in Grande Prairie at Northwestern Polytechnic. I'm Mac. He's Perry. And this is
Arjun Roy.
We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome once again to the Windy City's Finest on location in Grande Prairie at the Northwestern Polytechnic. He's Mac, I'm Perry, and this is
Arjun Roy.
Arjun Roy. I love your energy, and I just thank you so much for having us here and taking the time to meet with us.
Thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure. Thank you.
And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed your segment with Mac there, diving into your artistic journey. And yeah, I'm really excited to jump into this segment with you and talk more specifically, maybe the nitty gritty details of some of the things that you've worked on, and just kind of see what comes out of it.
Sure.
So yeah, I know that before we met, you sent a bunch of links over to some of your work, and I feel like let's just start with Hey Driver, Backwoods Revival.
Sure.
What can you tell me about that piece generally, and if there's any stories that come to mind immediately? Let's dive into
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah. So the band Hey Driver is kind of the brainchild of Brent Boyven and Matt O'Connor, longtime musicians and staples of the arts community across the Peace region. They've been involved in sort of live stuff. They've been performing for years. At some point last year, they decided they would like to focus more on original music. And so Hey Driver is sort of the project that allows them to get into original works. I think all of us ended up at the Country Music Alberta Awards last March. And so it was this funny thing where a lot of us, because we all work, we do a lot of stuff, we perform, and so, we don't always get the time to just connect and hang out like we used to.
Right.
And that was a time when we could all connect and hang out, surrounded by these sort of greater, Alberta and Western Canadian sort of arts and music community. They told me about this band, Hey Driver, and what they wanted to do. They had connected with, so getting into songwriting is tricky because some people just have a knack for it, and even if you do have a knack for it, you need to ease into it. Songs 1 through 12 are going to feel like they're not as good as songs 111 to 122, right? That you write, and so they're working on their songwriting. They had connected with Zachary Kay from local band The North Bloods. Zach is an amazing performer, a wonderful songwriter. and also a great co-writer. So they had collaborated. Zach had come up with sort of the foundation of the song Backwoods Revival, and they felt really strongly about it. Great work, great chords, melody, and so they approached me with this. Hey, we think this would be the best first single for Hey Driver. And so at the time, I was in the middle of sort of recommissioning this space, working on, like really, you were talking about the nitty gritty, working on the nitty gritty of checking every interconnection.
Wibbling the cables.
I still can't remember. It's something, it's not seating, reseating connections. I don't know.
You can say reseating, and I believe you. So yeah.
Thank you. I was reseating connections one day.
Perfect.
And again, checking the interconnections, checking the connectivity between all the rooms and stuff. And I'd gotten to the point where, I checked everything sort of channel by channel and thought, hey, wouldn't it be great if we had a band in here so I could try and break the space, have every single channel running, every single piece of gear going, every single button, every single EQ on the channel strip engaged. And so at the same time that this was happening, they were talking about getting in the studio to record. I said, you know what? You guys should come in and record, and this is how we can do it. And so we went back and forth. In terms of production, sometimes there are bands and artists who, I don't want to say show up fully formed, but sometimes their idea and vision is fully formed. And so then my job as a producer, my role ends up being making sure that their vision is captured in the most authentic way, whatever that is. Other times, if I'm able to, I'm happy to, like I'm a book nerd and such, so I love nitpicking lyrics and nitpicking, again, harmony and melody. If I can add something to it, or if I can suggest a change or something, I will. If the artist likes it, cool, they can keep it. And so I'd gone back and forth with Zach about his lyrics, gone back and forth with Brent and Matt about melodies and song structure and so on and so forth. And so when we got into the studio, we kind of recorded 80% of that single in one day, in one long session. We got drums, percussion, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, fiddle, all this kind of stuff. And then they went away, and then we took a couple of weeks to go back and forth, editing, getting some more parts dropped in, and then Brett came and again just did an amazing job tracking those vocals over a few sessions here, and then we mixed the song, and that was it. They are wonderful in the sense that they are all experienced musicians, and so their sense of groove, the way they connect and perform together, is very tight. It's very natural. It feels very authentic. Brent is a great vocalist, very evocative, and so it was great to again sort of work on the vocal production end of things to make sure that the story that they were telling was told in the in the most effective way. And it's funny choosing words to describe art, because it's sometimes ineffective. It's sometimes insufficient to say good or bad. Like really what we're trying to do is just get the emotion across in some effective way. So if you can make somebody feel something, much success. Awesome. So we mixed the track. They shot a video with my pal Ty, who is again amazing artist in his own right, my favorite videographer in town. And that's it. And that was the single. It came out. They hustle a lot. They get a lot of gigs. They perform a ton. They were playing last night. The town of High Level has like its 60th anniversary, so they opened for Gord Bamford. They played with Mariah Stokes, and they all opened for Gord Bamford last night. And so again, great bunch of guys, fun artists. Great to be here with them. I think that's it.
Yeah, no, that's incredibly detailed. Thank you so much for that. We're kind of like coming towards the end of our time for the segment, but I'm just curious about the track Ghost River. If there was any like fun facts or anything you remember about that, just because I've worked with a company called Ghost River in Calgary, and so it's just like a cool name, and just any like quick little stories, tidbits from that record that you can recall.
Yeah,
totally okay.
No, for sure. Zach is I would say again, chatting with Zach Riquet, great introspective dude. He's an English teacher, and again, very bookish. Loves prose, poetry, and so on and so forth. And so that whole record came from his time living in New Zealand briefly. His wife is from New Zealand, and so they met. He moved there for a bit. Eventually, they moved back, and so all the songs on that EP are are based on experiences, that he had there. Red Mountain refers to a place where they went. It is, and everything that signified for them in terms of being together and then sort of moving home and stuff. Similar with Ghost River, Zach could give you all the details. Recording it was great because it was a song that has to have a lot of vibe, and so it was a lot of room sounds, a lot of nerdy things like that to capture the atmosphere of what Zach was trying to write about.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I feel like my last question
Yeah.
for you here towards the end of our time is just like heavy metal.
Ah.
You're passionate for
Sure.
it. We
Yeah.
talked about it briefly, but I'm just curious if
Yeah.
you could try articulate a little bit of like what draws you to that genre and
Of course.
where that love comes from.
Absolutely. Everyone is, people who don't know me are surprised that I'm such a metalhead. I feel like people who know me are, they're like, hey, Arjun, he loves metal. Of course. He produces metal. Of course. But new folks are like, oh, really? Like, oh, we would never have guessed. I get it. I got into metal, I think initially, technically, I was getting good at playing guitar, and I love classical music. I played a lot of classical guitar. I realized that there is some, virtuosic rock music that's like classical music played really fast on electric instruments, right? I mean, classical guitarists are pretty fast anyway. And so that led to wanting to learn technically more challenging stuff. And that led to my friend saying, hello, you seem to like this music. Have you heard of Metallica? Like beginning from there. And something about the energy of metal I just love. I love the technical challenge of playing parts and composing and writing in that way. I love as a production challenge getting that kind of a giant, very in-your-face sound on record. It's something about it. It's so much fun. I feel like metal, maybe metalheads or metalers, are supposed to be, I don't know, intense, maybe angry folks. I find perhaps the emotional release of playing and listening to metal just very, I don't know, rewarding. It's very contentful in some way. I'm not necessarily like an angry, intense person. Just I don't think so.
Get that sense at all. Yeah.
I don't think so anyway. Maybe other people say differently, but something about that energy is really interesting. It's one of my favorite bands. They're not a metal band. They could be, in some regards, Nine Inch Nails. It's more about, again, the emotional release, the sonic palette that they create. All the way to, I don't know, Metallica on one level, but then even heavier stuff like At the Gates, Lamb of God, like some of these bands, like there's something very interesting about what they do. And I don't know why, but I just love it.
That's totally
so
fair.
much fun.
Yeah, you don't have to have a reason all the time,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that's so great.
Indeed.
Sweet. Thank you so much for your time and energy. I thoroughly
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
This has been the Windy City's finest on location at Northwestern Polytechnic. He's Mac, I'm Perry, and this is
Arjun Roy.
It's Mac and Perry in the place. Da-na-na-na. Mac and Perry
Go live to create.
Da-na-na-na. Mac and Perry invite you to stay.